All right, everybody, welcome back for another East Oaktober. Today, the person that has joined me, our newest artist here at East Oaks, Livia.
Hi.
Livia is so excited about being on camera today, but this is her debut filming on any of our East Oaks stuff. So we're very excited, super talented artist. We love having her here. She's from Washington State. Please ask her lots of fun questions about her journey. And also, today we're conquering our fears on trying to make a value study. So we're going to go along with you, and if you have questions, if you've never done a value study, feel free to ask us questions. But the whole idea is to experiment with something that you typically don't do, that maybe you'll find enjoyable, or that you might even see a weakness that you have that you need to strengthen. It's all about working out and trying new things and failing and feeling like you have the liberty to fail. So without further ado, we're going to get started. I need to get a few brushes for my palette. Also, we have a few cables and cords today that decided they just don't want to work as well. So if one of the cameras goes out, we apologize. It will soon come back on. They just seem to be, moody today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Please tell us where you're coming from. Also, we have links to our new Discord that we put in the description below. If you are working along with us or decide to do this later, you can go onto that Discord link and connect to our Discord so that you can share with the rest of our community of what everyone's doing on this 20-day journey along with you, so that you feel like you've got a community to participate with. So I'm going to go ahead and get my brushes ready, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So today we have 4 camera angles that we are going to be doing, and give me 2 seconds to pull up one of them.
Tina did the beautiful setup yesterday
Yes.
that I'll be doing.
That is very true. So Tina, we have the still life that we did yesterday. I might rearrange a few things on the still life on mine, but it's pretty much similar to what I left the still life to be yesterday. Might move the candle over 1 hair and move a few other things. I'm going to keep checking the camera angles to make sure that y'all have all of the camera angles. And I'm going to start always, even though it's a small little painting, it's better to start with a bigger brush sometimes than a smaller one. So I'm going to start with a medium / bigger brush.
So we have some people joining in. We have someone from New Zealand. They're saying good morning from New Zealand. We have someone from London. And then Gail is saying, hi, Livia, fellow Pacific Northwesterner here. Gail from Oregon. Hey, everybody.
We're so glad you're with us, Gail. Gail's one of our biggest fans. We love having her with us. And we're one of her biggest fans, too.
I love that. I haven't been too many places, but Oregon, I know, is beautiful. My sister lives there.
I keep telling Livia, now that she's here, we have reason to go visit her and her family over in Washington State. And we'll have to go and paint the beautiful state of Washington sometime in the future and make it an East Oaks trip with all of our peeps.
Yeah, see the mountains, see the Pacific Ocean. It's much colder.
All right, I'm going to also get a little bit of turf. Since I wear a lot of hats here, I find myself always scrambling to actually get the painting supplies together, because I've been working on making sure that the cameras are ready to go for everybody. So I'm going to just get a little bit of lean medium to add to this little guy. Make it a little easier for this paint to move around. All right. So I think one of the first things I'm going to do is just kind of block out. I'm going to first move this candlestick just a touch. See if I can come around.
Can you wiggle the wire and see if the camera
Oh, see, camera 3 is getting moody. I might end up having to switch camera so that at least you might not be able to see my palette, but you'll be able to see my painting. So I might have to move cameras around a touch. So let's give that a try. Just switch over to her angles.
All on Livia now. She's the star of the show. You're doing great.
My very limited experience with painting from life is probably going to show through a bit, but we're going to do our best.
You know what? That's all that this is about, though. It's not a performance or anything. We're all learning here.
Yep.
Yes.
That is the big
Facing a lot
takeaway.
of fears today.
Yeah. We do also have Joyce in the chat. She's saying that she's also from Washington State.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful. A fellow Washingtonian.
Fellow Washingtonian.
Let's see. So we have London, Ontario, Canada. That's Todd saying hi. We have Sue from Virginia, Miguel from Puerto Rico, Elijah from the Bay Area, California, and we have someone from France also.
Nice. That is amazing. All right, I'm switching cameras at least so that you can see one that I know is being a little bit more consistent and on my actual painting. And then I have another one that's being a bit more finicky on the palette. So if you lose something, it'll just be my mixture and that won't be anything because it's just black and white. So we're just making a little bit of a gradient relationship. So, okay.
Louis spent so much time helping me get set up that he neglected his own area.
No, I've spent so much time just getting the thing set up.
That's true. It's an impressive feat, though.
So the other good thing, and this goes back to what day we'll have in the future here, is I'm having to step back a little bit just so I can see over my setup and look at the still life. But that allows me to like step back a touch, and that's really good because then it's kind of like the stool of shame day that we're going to do. It helps me better step back and like see the big picture. So it's all about that big look, as Jeff Larson would say. All about the big look.
So given that this is a value study, does anyone want to share what their thought process is as to how they're planning on starting this? And if so, how does it differ from if you were to do an actual painting rather than a study?
That's a great question. So the difference that I would do is I do this actually similar to how I would start a thumbnail, which is I'm not going to start off with necessarily the darkest dark, but I'm going to make it represent my darker darks in the painting as my first, situation. So I'm going to just go back to this and pull this up. By the way, me stepping back this far, am I still on the camera?
Right now your hands just are. It's like
Okay.
half of your face.
Yeah, I'll put that over just a touch more.
Yeah, should be good.
Cool. All right. So I'm first just kind of like taking the size ratio of my panel, and I'm just going to look at what's going to be in the picture and where is it sitting in the picture, and thinking about using the idea imagination-wise of like the rule of thirds to see kind of where everything's hitting so that I can make a few quick, easy judgment calls. And I might move the candle over a little bit from what I see, and that's the beauty of working from life, is you can kind of do that. So we're going to make the pumpkin over here. And just pull the pumpkin over.
If this was like a proper painting for me, I know definitely I would go in with more of the drawing and the composition figured out. Whereas this is just a color study, I'm gonna more so, or a value study, I'm gonna worry about that a little more. So the drawing is important and I wanna get it well, but it's not my priority doing this.
Well said. That's exactly what I'm thinking too. I'm gonna wanna place things, but I'm not worried about it being perfectly right. This is not the goal when you're working on a value study. The goal is to think about a hierarchy of value in your study. You know, we said this yesterday, so if you joined yesterday, it'll be a repeat. But for people that we have that are new, the old saying goes that value does all the work, but color gets all the credit. And so right now, what a value study is doing is giving it the priority it deserves to create a dynamic painting. So the next thing I'm going to do is double check. I just want to make sure that this big pumpkin, that I have it sitting okay. It's going a little bit past the halfway mark, so I want to make sure that this goes a little bit past the halfway mark. And remember, painting is very forgiving. You can paint over stuff. Don't worry about thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta be careful to make it fresh. Everything can be moved, especially on an alla prima day of painting value study.
This is true, and it's just a study. We're having fun.
That's right.
Is what I tell myself.
It's a great thing to tell yourself. Because it is very, very true.
We have a question for Livia. They're asking, is Livia using a glass palette?
Yes. Normally I would have something more neutral gray underneath the glass right now, but I just got this. I had one previously, but it shattered. And so in the move, I didn't bring it. So next time you see it, it'll probably have a gray background underneath the glass, but yes.
Glass palettes are great. One of the reasons I like them is because you can put any tone behind it. So like for example, on mine, I have a glass palette and there's a gray tone behind mine. In Livia's, she has that more earthy tone from like a particle board behind hers. And both are really great backgrounds to use because they have a neutral value or a mid value to mid value so that you don't go too high key at the beginning, because all your range of color is lower in the value range for the most part, unless you're working with yellow. And it helps a lot with differentiating proper color.
This is true. I've noticed this when I had white before. Everything is in comparison with paint. And I was always comparing things to white and they look so dark. So switching it up and having more of a mid-tone definitely helped me.
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm not necessarily teaching today because this is more about us just experimenting, but I am just sharing my thoughts of what I'm doing. So the mid-tone that I'm putting down is representing the dark, but what I like to do is I like to start not too dark and not too light so that I can then increase that range later. It allows for me to have an easier time experimenting with what I see.
And for your studies, I'm noticing that, Louis, you're working on a tone panel, and Livia, it looks like you're working on a white panel. Is that intentional, or do you normally have preference when you're working with either toned or white panels for studies?
It really doesn't matter to me. I like working with a tone panel because I like to have white to add to it. But I mean, Sean Cheatham, who I have a great respect for his work, as well as many, many other artists, they tend to have a white panel and then they tone it right there and work kind of alla prima into it. So it's kind of similar to what Liv's doing.
Yeah, yeah. It is a bit darker than white, but it is very close. I do like having a bit more of a mid-tone, but it's nice adding white on top of that. Definitely, it shines better, stands out more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really a preference, and it'll dictate more of your style when you have that preference down. So here's another really good reason for, are both cameras working?
Just your painting.
Just the painting,
not
okay.
the palette.
So I want to show you guys something. So you see how dark that background looks. I'm going to zoom this, I'm going to force this camera down so you can see what my palette looks like. And I wonder if you could take a guess at which color or which value there is that background value. And, you know, it's easy for me to think that it would be the left, the one directly right of black, you know, this one right, if I can use, hold on, I've got to tighten this so I can use my hands, that one right there. But in actuality, it's this one right here. And so the reason it's really great to have a toned palette that's around, and you know, maybe a value 6 or a value 5 is because that might look really dark when you're first putting paint down, but it shows you what kind of range you have available to you. So, so that's why it's important to have a palette, you know, that's like a neutral brown, which any wood palette's going to be a lower value. But if you have a glass palette, not to put white behind it. So right now I'm not even going to put the candle in yet. Something also that I talk about a lot here that might be helpful for y'all when you're experimenting with this is I like to put the largest shape, which happens to be the negative space here, and get that value down of what I think it's going to be, or roughly around what it's going to be. Because then that gives me context to everything else, and it gives me the most context of anything else in the painting. So by doing that, I can better judge the values that the other things will need to be. So I think I'm going to make these pumpkins slightly larger than what I originally had there. Let's make them go a little bit above the thirds, or at least the white pumpkin going a little bit above the thirds. We're going to have him come up here.
And that's the joy of doing a study, because you can easily change things like that and see how it looks. And if it doesn't work out, then you can just change it how it was before.
That's right. And then pulling this up. Basically, I'm making the pumpkins a little bit bigger. And since I'm going to have the candle not on the far side, because the candle actually, if y'all can see from maybe the other camera, the candle is like sitting on the right side of the smaller pumpkin, and I am deciding that I want him to be more here. So also, pro tip, if you want to, when you're doing a value study like this, but you want to erase, just put a little bit of oil on a fresh new brush, preferably maybe a larger brush, and then go in and you can just erase right away. So that helps you kind of add and erase, add and erase. Just remember, the more oil you put down, the heavier your paint should be later, because it's going to get slippery and pull off versus add on. We're just going to put that there for the moment, see what that looks like. Sometimes I feel like the essence of Bob Ross is coming out of me. You just put this here. Hey, make this painting what you want to make it.
How
This is
beautiful.
your world. Yeah,
Bob Ross is all within us.
exactly. Trying to keep them alive. Also, another tip for people who are just starting to paint. I sit there and I go, I'm not going to teach, and then I'm here sitting here telling you all sorts of things that'll help. Well, that's what this is all about. So I do it out of fun. Whenever you put your brush mark, and we're going to talk about this on brush day too, but whenever you put your brush mark and you're painting with the grain of the brush, it lays down paint really well. But if you wanted to paint the opposite way with your brush, it actually lifts the paint. So you can use that to lift some of the paint or to put the paint down. And that'll help you have more control over your painting. Okay.
I have to adjust the focus of Blue's camera.
Is that better?
Isn't it kind of nice being out of focus, though?
That's right.
Creates a nice atmospheric effect. Nobody can see too much.
All right, so something I'm noticing, I wish y'all could see my palette, but maybe my camera will eventually come back on for that one. Bummer, I need to get a new cord. You know, they say that cords just eventually just die on you, and this one has lived a good long life. But basically, the gray of the cloth below the pumpkins is just ever so slightly lighter than the background. So I'm going to put it in as just add a little bit of white to my gray that I mixed over here, and that's going to help make it just slightly lighter than the rest of my background. Think about large shapes. Don't worry about all the details yet. This paint is forgiving. Just go ahead and put large swaths of paint down, and then you can add to it later. So like, for example, I'm not going to put the corn husk in yet. Just going to kind of bring it up around it.
Your palette is back up.
Yay! Okay, so I was adding that there's a little bit of light I'm adding to that side of what was the background value, and that's what I'm putting down here below. Okay. Now, keep a larger brush longer on this kind of thing. And just try to think about what are the bigger shapes that I'm seeing. So bringing this pumpkin up. Can I add a little more? This value, it's getting a little dark on me.
We have a comment from Gail. She's saying, so funny. I was just going to mention Louis is doing a lot of free teaching. Thanks, Louis.
Yeah. Well, it's hard for me not to. That's my heart, is being able to share. You know, one of my favorite things that I would hear people say that Richard Schmidt would say is that None of us own these skills. These are skills that have been brought over time, from generation to generation, and it's our responsibility to pass them on to the next. And I just feel like that's the right heart. So notice, palette still up? Mm-hmm. Notice I have like 3 colors, 3 values, 1, 2, 3 that are going on. And so I'm paying attention to this is my background value that I'm putting back here. And if I look up there and I squint down and I go, okay, well this is lighter than that value, that background value, but it's darker than this value, then I know that I can add just a little bit of light onto the right of that background value, and I won't go past the background color. I'll stay over on the light side. And that helps kind of create a hierarchy of value control naturally. Let me just add a little more white to that.
We did get a question kind of relating to what you're saying, Louis. They're asking, would it help at the start of the study we identify the number of values offered by the subject and then proceed?
Yeah, I like would limit how many values you put up there, because it's going to help you control. You can easier manipulate the values later if you have basic values up there, and then you can push in different directions of what is going to be lighter and what's going to be darker. So it absolutely can help. Is that what they're asking? Is that what the question? Mm-hmm. Okay, just sometimes I start rambling and then I was like, wait, did I even answer the?
Well, you're multitasking. You both
question?
are. It's hard.
All right, so what are people doing on their studies? What are some of the subjects and objects you have chosen for your painting? I'd like to know. All right, so now I'm going to look at this, the next darkest thing in here aside from shadows, and I'm going to make it a little bit more like that. So I'm going to go down here to this value, which is the darkest part of the background value, and I'm going to put in just a basic understanding of where this metal creamer picture is. We decided what we call this. What was it again?
Oh, Evie knew what it was.
It was a really interesting name, like Homer.
Anyone knows, please comment. We totally forgot what it was.
Always love adding new words to the vocabulary.
So what you're going to find eventually when we're doing this is that you'll start seeing a relationship form between these objects. And at first it feels like they're disconnected, but then they end up all connecting later. So for metal things, I tend to like to go darker first and then bring up highlights to it. The reason being is that we tend to err on the side of lighter because we look at the reflections that things are highlights that are coming off of them, but we then forget how dark the whole object is in relationship to the rest of the painting. So I like to say, okay, that's going to be kind of darker there. I'll keep pushing him later, just seeing if that's the right spot I want him. So what's more important for me right now is that I get the whole thing covered with some paint color. And then start carving into stuff to make a better representation of what value relationships are happening.
We have a comment from Gail about the creamer name. It's an Ewer.
That's it. That's
it's
it.
Ewer. She put pronounced as it's Ewer, but I'm probably still also pronouncing it wrong. But thank you so much, Gail.
Thank you, Gail, coming through for us. Need Gail to come and visit East Oaks. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
We're working with YouTube here on not too long from now that we're going to start adding a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of background music to just very light in the background, easygoing, so that, I don't know, it becomes part of like the meditation of when you're painting, that we're just hanging out with you in the background painting along. Wouldn't that be cool?
I'll just bring my harp and I'll just play it in the background over here. That'd be great, right?
That
You
would
can
be
play the harp?
fabulous.
No.
Fabulous.
Oh,
You're getting our hopes up there too.
good enough.
Sorry.
I mean, even if you're just plucking, that's playing.
Yeah, I think I could do it. I could play the clarinet. I don't know if that's as nice though.
Yeah.
That would be cool. And get some smooth jazz on the clarinet from Tina.
I would be down.
We also got a comment from someone named Baroque, and they're saying these streams are truly amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying them. It makes me so happy. This is why we do it. Because otherwise it would be too costly. If y'all didn't enjoy it as much as you did, it's not worth my time, because it actually takes up a lot of time to do these things, but it's people like you that give me the drive to keep doing them. I'm just giving myself like a moment where, if we're making a hierarchy, what is the darkest dark? I'm just kind of like darting my eye around to some of these deep shadows that are hanging out below the pumpkins. I'm saying, for better or for worse right now, that's what I'm going to call my darkest dark value. And later I might punch it a little more, but for now, that's what I'm calling it.
We did have some people post their thumbnail sketches from yesterday on Discord.
Woo!
That was pretty cool to see. If you guys missed either yesterday or the announcement that Louis made earlier, we do have a new Discord group. The link should be in the YouTube description, but basically it's just you have to click the link and then you can either download the app or you can join on the web browser. And we have a separate section that's dedicated to East Oaktober, where you can post your work and you can chat with other people also doing the 20-day challenge. We also have some other channels where you can kind of introduce yourselves and post your work outside of East Oaktober, just for other people to see, maybe get feedback. We just started it yesterday, so it's really cool to see how many people have joined and already posting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
It is really cool to see everyone's different variations on the same thing. Like how all the different thumbnails turn out, how Tina's versus Lewis's turned out. It's very interesting, and even just painting here, my value study versus Lewis's value study. And there's not really a wrong or right. There certainly probably is.
No.
But
No, there's not a wrong or right.
not wrong or right. It's everybody's own personal touch and personal style, and that's the beauty and the uniqueness of everybody's different art.
Yep, I tell people I don't know if this is, I would like to think it through a little bit more, but what I tell people is there's not necessarily wrong and right. There's consistent and inconsistency in your work. So if you have a inconsistency where you're representing a certain mark making to be, say, a sky, but then on the other side of the tree you represent it with a totally different type of mark making, then there's an inconsistency that makes it hard for the viewer to know what it means. And so usually when I'm teaching, I'm like, oh, well, that's not bad, or this isn't bad. This actually, you could do this, but if you're gonna do this, try this and try to make it consistent throughout the painting. I find that that's more, there's no real wrong way to represent, say, like, for example, you can make a face really textural with like heavy paint, and then if you then contrast the background with really soft marks with very thin paint, then it creates this contrast that pushes things back and represents things in the forward. And that there's tons of people that did that. I mean, it's like Rembrandt was known for doing that. So is, Sargent and other people. And then you could do it just the opposite, where you make the person really soft and rendered, and then you make the background really textural. And people like Lepage were known for doing that. So there's a lot of ways of doing it as long as the viewer can understand what it means. So, and so the same applies to color. You can have inconsistencies in color or value. And so usually what I'm helping people with, because most people here are wanting to learn realism, I usually am helping them with creating consistencies in how they're thinking and what their work is saying. So I'm glad you said that, Liv, because I feel like that's a good thing for people to know.
Yeah, my philosophy kind of has been recently that the most important thing in good art is just that it looks like you did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Everything else is just a matter of personal taste.
Yeah. I'm now going to put on some white here on this guy, but I'm not going to do pure white. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm leaving pure white for our brightest things and for later in the painting. And then that way I can push and pull these mid colors, and it's kind of easier to do that than it is to like put pure white down and then you like run out of range a lot of times. Same with pure dark, pure black. Honestly, I think that's why a lot of Atelier training typically deals with graphite pencils, because you are nowhere near pure black, but you're representing pure black with a particular range of value.
We have a comment from Elijah. He is saying, oh, wow, I love that. Consistency and inconsistency. That's a great way to think of it.
Nice.
And then we also have a comment from Gail. She says, I love what Livia just said about being intentional.
And that's why Olivia is awesome.
I appreciate the support here. One thing about East Oaks is everybody is very supportive of everybody else. Can't be too hard on yourself here, because people just pick you back up.
Yep, it's true. One of our mottos I took from a mentor of mine, where he was like, we are relationships of grace, and I just loved that. Where we have here at East Oaks, we have a very giving mentality. In the same right, we also are concerned about each other a lot and making sure that we're protecting each other. But in so doing, it's very important for us to be gracious to others and make sure that they're getting the encouragement that they need and the support that they need. Because this thing we do is hard. It's not easy. And, you know, I'm a very optimistic guy, and I've had very depressing seasons of my life when I was painting alone. And when I realized that there are people that enjoy supporting as much as I do in others, that's when I was like, you know what? For the rest of my life, I'm going to figure out a way to make sure that there's a community of artists, there's a support group for people. So it makes me really excited that when people feel it, when they're here, and, you know, see the vision behind it. Because the world is hard. And not everyone's out for your own benefit. It's great to be in a community of people who do care and are out for your own benefit. Want to see you succeed.
Agree. And we are so thankful for you, Louis.
No, I'm thankful for y'all. Are you kidding? Y'all help me just as much as I help y'all. Hence, Tina behind the switcher tonight, or this afternoon. So used to it being tonight.
Yeah, DFL.
And Livia being such a, facing her fears, which is the whole purpose of this, and getting in front of the camera and doing this. I'm so proud of her. This is first debut, and it's one of many because, you know, just like everybody here, you get the bug and you want to do it again.
Yeah, the heart rate has evened out a bit.
Yep.
I'm starting to feel more okay.
You know, honestly, the most fearful part is the unknown. And that is what all of these painting days are about. It's like, well, I've never done that, so I'm scared to try it. And it's like, I'm giving you the opportunity to try it and not worrying about failure. If you hate it so much, you don't have to post it. And if you found that something worked well, you can post it. Or you can post it and say, hey, I had a question because I was running into this issue. And hopefully our Discord community will lean in and go, hey, I know what you can do to fix that.
Yeah, that's such a good point because some people don't have access to a community where they can share their work like we do here, where it's like, I'm really struggling with this part of the composition. Can you guys just like give me your feedback? A lot of people might not have that. So I'm really glad that now we have at least some kind of way where we can act as a community and people can share their work and we can give feedback too.
Yep.
It is so much harder doing it by yourself. So if it's available to you, I think definitely take advantage, because I've spent many months and years actually doing art by myself, and the struggle is real.
The struggle is very real. I painted 12 years by myself, and I'm a little different than most artists. I feel I'm an extreme extrovert, and anyone who's been playing or participating with us in our Painting from Lives probably know this already. But for those of you that are new, as an extreme extrovert, when you're not around people for 10, 15 hours a day, and most of the time I've worked out of my home. And at that point of my life, I was living in a cabin in the woods, and there'd be a day or two that I wouldn't even leave because I'd be painting, and it was just by myself. And it can be soul-sucking. And to find a community of people, remember the first time I met a community of other artists, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like life-giving. So something I'm doing is even on this shape of the pumpkin, which I think some people would overlook, is there's a brightest part of the pumpkin. And this is what's really good about like creating a value study, is because you can pull things forward and back to make sure that you're getting the brightest amount of light on it. So what I'm noticing now is that I am reaching the peak range of my white. So, and the only reason that I can't tell is because maybe there's not enough light hitting it. So that means I have a lot more range in the dark to work with. So I'm going to lean into that and start doing more dark orientations to make sure everything's making sense together. So, haven't heard anybody talk about what they're painting, so I want to hear what you're painting if you are. You know, send us your setup on Discord.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Is anybody else doing pumpkins, I wonder? I
hope
painted
so.
pumpkins for the first time not that long ago, and boy, did I struggle.
They're a challenge.
They are. Those weird lumps and ridges.
Mm-hmm. Got all those bips and bobs.
Bips and bobs.
It's funny, bits is probably one of our terms that we use often here, because I'm always like, you know, maybe add some draggy bits there, and you know, there's a few dips and bips.
Yes, this is an art term that I have learned since joining here. Draggy bits.
Draggy bits.
It's official.
Yep.
Probably find it in the Webster Dictionary.
Yeah. Yep. We gotta like make it first to like the American Slang Dictionary, but then over time it'll like turn from connotation to denotation, and then like Webster's like, oh my gosh, bips and bobs. This is a painting term used for talking about dragging your brush. Draggy bits.
Mm-hmm. And then a couple centuries from now, they'll be at like Harvard studying the old masterworks, and they'll be like, look at those draggy bits.
Man, those
Beautiful.
are some good draggy bits.
Someone will write a thesis on it.
We should make a hashtag draggy bits.
We have a few responses from people when you asked what they were painting. Joyce saying that she's painting a hound dog with the Santa hat.
Oh, that's awesome.
I really want to see that.
I really want to see that. You ain't nothing but... Y'all don't want to hear my singing.
We're going to get copywritten, Louis.
Oh yeah, you got to watch out. Especially since they've like released a new hound dog version since Elvis's movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They want that money.
That's right. Which is so funny because sampling is such a thing in the music world. But anyway, what were you about to say?
Gail also commented, and she's saying, I'm not painting along. I'm just using this as a body doubling opportunity for other work.
Gotcha.
And John is asking for the Discord channel link. It should be in the description on YouTube. If it's not on today's, then it's on yesterday's. And all you have to do is just click on the link, and then it'll send you like an invitation, and you just have to join it.
Man, this is so much fun. I haven't done a value study in several years now, quite like, the way we're doing it. And it is a absolute blast. I'm having so much fun doing this.
Both of yours is looking really great so far. It's only like 50 minutes in, and you've both already gotten pretty far.
Nice.
Thank you, Tina. My cheerleader. It does look good, Louis.
Livia the master.
No, Louis the master.
There can be two masters.
That's true. It's not a mutual exclusive thing.
Well, I think it's a little too soon, but a girl can dream.
A guy can dream too. Always consider, like, when you're working with, on alla prima things like this, I tend to use titanium white. And it's mainly because the black can sometimes be overpowering to my lead white when I'm typically using it. So what I do instead, but the funny thing is now that you do titanium white, it can be overpowering to the black. So you just need to like make sure that you're paying attention to those things.
It's interesting getting a new paint because you really have to learn the qualities of it, how it interacts with the other paints.
Yep.
So are both of you using titanium white, and then what are you using for your black?
I'm using ivory black. For mine, what are you using, Liv?
I'm using Gamblin's Chromatic Black, which I got recently and has been kind of fun to use. It's like...
Oh, it's got a bit more blue to it, which is probably... Sorry, keep going. Totally.
I was reading on the website, and it was their version of when people will mix like ultramarine blue and burnt umber, or their example, I think that they based theirs off of. I don't know exactly, but it's like a dark red color and then like a phthalo green or viridian or something. But I think their goal with it was when you mix it with other paints, it stays more vibrant. But I got it to try it out because I use a lot of black and a lot of gray.
That would really be good for the Zorn palette day because it's got a bit, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And so it'd be perfect for people who want to have like a cooler bluish colored black. So keep that in mind, people. We got a Zorn palette day coming up.
Keep it in mind.
I think that's what, Tuesday of next week, possibly?
I
It's
think
on
you're
the
right.
calendar. Should be in the link in the description. But tomorrow we're doing Grisaille Day, which will be fun.
Grizzly Day.
Grizzly Day.
Grisaille Day is going to be so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. I do it a lot in workshops, when I teach workshops, where it is where I will take a warm and cool and will push the warm and cool in the light and dark to make it have separation. So it's just like today where you're doing a value study, but it's more involved. And then you take that just a step further on Grisaille Day and push warm and cool, and you'll create this like really cool dynamic painting that's tonal without you even thinking about trying to make something tonal. And that's what I love about it. I think it's going to be, people are going to find it interesting, I think. It's a lot you can do with very little color. Who's joining me for that? That's Erica. Erica Arcudi will be joining me that day.
And I'm working on getting a direct link to the Discord in the chat. That way everyone can access it easily.
Oh, that would be helpful.
Okay, the Discord link is in the chat. All you have to do is just click on it and you can join. We have a few comments from people. Let's see, Esteban is saying how one day I decided to spend a full weekend just painting. I started talking to myself in my head, having these conversations. I even had arguments. At the end of the day, I was so tired of myself, I couldn't stand myself.
You know, Esteban, I get that. That's every day in the life.
Well, there's times where I'm like sitting back there and just like, no, stupid, stupid. Why could you do this, Lewis?
Betrayed me.
Yeah, exactly. Betrayed me. All right, so something I also want to take in consideration now that I'm kind of getting the darks and lights more connected is I want to make a little bit more of a light fall over here. And then I'm going to mix it with the rest of the paint as it goes up to the light over here. And then pull that across. The reason I'm doing that is because this value of this pumpkin over here is a little bit darker, but still feels bright. And the light's coming from the left side, and I want the left pumpkin to feel more luminous. And so by keeping the gray value over here a little bit lighter on this side, you can create a bit of ambience and atmosphere with this side of the painting. And then that will help this pumpkin even feel whiter, even though the background is lighter on that side. Sometimes people are like, oh, more contrast. Well, actually think about it. If you look at a moon painting, this is how I usually describe it because I think people all of a sudden can connect with it this way. If you look at a moon painting, a moonscape or a nightscape, and you look at one that has a sun in it, the only difference is that the contrast between the sun and the sky is lighter and more connected to each other. Whereas the moon, the surrounding sky is much darker around it. So I tell people, think about that, because the lightness of the sky is informing the brightness of the sun, and the darkness of the sky is informing how dim the moon can be in relationship to the sky. Same thing happens atmospherically in paintings. If you've got a light subject over here, don't make it contrast with dark colors as much. Give it a little bit of atmosphere, a little bit of glow by making it lighter around the subject matter. And it'll help the pumpkin feel more luminous and brighter.
We have some more people joining in. This one's saying, hello from Colombia. Joined a bit late, but working along. I really enjoy the lives. I'm painting from a cabin alone, too.
Oh, cool.
For this still life, I'm painting an old radio and a coffee press.
Oh, that's awesome. I definitely, please put that on Discord. I can't wait to see what that looks like. That's going to be super cool. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to make East Oak Studio is because when I was in the cabin, I was like, you know what? I wish I had just somebody I could watch or listen to while I paint along. And I would end up buying videos of other artists just to have them in the background. So I felt like I had somebody I was painting with.
Aww.
And yeah, don't pity me. No, but
My heart broken.
But you know, so you know, Lip King was one of my best friends because he was always there on the screen behind me. Schmidt and all the like. But yeah, and I had a few friends that would paint too. My buddy Lynn Clark would come over and paint with me, and I had another guy, Jim Bullion, in town who was a painting enthusiast and would come over and we'd hire a model together or something. But that was a rare occasion because, you know, people are busy and have their own lives and doing things. All right, I'm going to give this other pumpkin a little love. How's it going, Liv?
It's okay. I think one thing that I need to adjust is everything is kind of using the whole range of values.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to a little bit more clearly place everything in its own range. The light pumpkin should be lighter than the medium pumpkin, a little bit more. A little bit consolidate things.
Yeah.
But besides that, you know, I think it's very valuable to be able to self-critique, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Good. And that's a true statement. I think what I always am sharing here is trying to, I don't know how successful I am, but my goal is to try to give them a fish and pole here versus a fish. so that they can self-assess whenever the sad day that they move on from East Oaks, that they'll have the skill set to be able to self-assess what they need to change and do.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think on one hand it can be in the beginning a little bit discouraging, being able to look at your painting and be like, that's wrong, or could be better. But it's just one step on the way to getting better and getting closer to what you want. So maybe in the beginning it's a little frustrating knowing that there are so many things to change, but be a little optimistic about it.
Yeah.
Be like, I know what's wrong with my painting. Woohoo.
Yep.
So a few more people are commenting about what they're painting. Julia is saying, on her easel is an old oak with partially exposed roots.
Ooh.
Sounds really cool. Elijah is working on a portrait. They're painting in Procreate, so it's not traditional or from life. But
Okay.
I love learning from your YouTube videos. I hope to do traditional in the future, though.
Procreate's a powerful tool. One worth knowing. I find myself, I've been trying to learn a little bit of Procreate myself just to help create, I don't know, some faster thumbnail sketches when I'm like upstairs on the couch, you know, while we're like watching a show, can try a few things. You know, or sometimes I'm working on a painting that's very involved, but want to try to change something, but the risk is too high to change it there experimentally, so I might try it on Procreate. So that's cool.
And everything kind of informs each other too. Like
Yep.
being really good at colored pencils will help you eventually move on to painting. Or being really good at painting can help you if you ever decide to move on to like ballpoint pen.
Yep.
know?
Absolutely.
And same with Procreate. Digital art is really cool.
What do y'all think? Liz seems to be throwing out some truth bombs here.
She's a natural.
I think I'll keep her on camera. She's probably like, no, wait.
Maybe I should stop talking.
Got to be careful how good you are on camera here. I might just keep on going, hey, you want to get online today? There's some people out there that want to hear some truth.
It's all just fluff, just packaged pretty.
I want to hear if there's any days that people who've looked at the calendar are excited about, because there's several that I'm really excited about that I would like to hear what other people find to be interesting.
We have a comment from Mia Stuff. She's saying, I'm an introvert but enjoy sharing with a like-minded community. I look forward to also joining the Discord channel.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We look forward to seeing you there.
You are in good company with many introverts out there that are painters. I am definitely the anomaly in my field. I have found, though, that even the most introverted people need community. And I've also have found that I feel like online communities really are beneficial to those kind of people because they feel like they can get involved just as much as they have capacity to energy-wise. So, or that group of friends that you like to meet with once a month. It can be helpful too.
We did lose Louis' palette shot, but hopefully if the cord is feeling gracious, it'll come back soon.
Yeah. This is the most bipolar cord that we have here. But
just keep the room feeling light and maybe it'll come back on.
yep, exactly.
I'm so proud of how everyone's studies is turning out. They look so good.
I know, I'm so excited about what's going on. Way to go, Liv. This is my first chance to like look and see what you're doing. Oh, my camera is all wonky.
Thank you. Yours is looking good too. Beautiful, beautiful. I have the benefit of being slightly behind him, so I can just look at him the whole time.
We have a comment from Elizabeth, and she's saying, thank you so much for doing this. The information is helpful and encouraging.
Oh, good. We will keep doing it.
We have 18 more days of this, so we're
That's
only
right.
going to get better.
It's only going to get more fun.
More fun. Everybody's knowledge of technology is growing so much.
Yeah, you know, partially one of the great things about doing this is I will, each day I'm kind of adding an extra little thing to the live streams to where hopefully people will find it even more fun. We're going to try to add like a little bit of an animation. Maybe tomorrow my goal is to get a countdown going on it so that each day has like some fun, new, intriguing things happening.
The ambition never stops.
No, it was funny. I was telling Tina today when we were getting set up, I was like, if I had 6 more hours, I'd still be panicked because I would just add more to the plate. I had somebody a while back say, it's so funny, I thought maybe you'd be a little bit different than where you are on camera, but I think you're really exactly the same. And it's like, you can ask any of the girls here. Yeah, I will tell you my struggles, and I am the exact same on camera, at least I think I am, than I am off camera. There's, I don't know, there's not much difference.
Elijah is also saying the forms are looking awesome.
Nice.
Nice. Doing it.
Send us your forms, Elijah. And is that Elijah or Elisha?
Elijah. Elijah.
Elijah. It's one of those where I had a buddy who was Elisha. And everybody'd be like, Elijah. And he'd be like, it's Elisha. Like,
Never heard Elisha.
It's pretty.
Yep.
It is pretty.
They're both biblical names, and one was the apprentice to the other.
Oh.
Yep. So they were both prophets, and they both performed miracles in the Old Testament, but one was the understudy to the other. And I think it was Elijah who was like, he was like taken up to heaven, and told Elisha that he would perform twice as many miracles as he did. And that became true. And that is, that's all the Sunday Bible and Sunday school you are going to get today.
We have a sweet comment. Someone is saying, hey everyone, don't forget to like the video. which is a really great way of letting YouTube know that you're appreciating the content and hopefully push it towards other people who aren't aware of East Oaks and what we're doing, and hopefully reach a new audience. So that is very sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be, we would hope and wish, this is free for everyone. We hope and wish that you would like and subscribe, but this is more about the generosity of just giving out opportunities for people to do some fun things and create a community than it is at anything else. But it does definitely help, and we want you to know how much we appreciate it when you do.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna stop fussing over that little pumpkin right now, and I'm gonna go in and try to do a few darker notes in a few spots.
It's so easy and fun to fuss, though.
I know.
Sounds like you guys both need to participate in the Stop Fussing Day.
Yes. I think you're right.
But I don't want to stop.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite days I'm excited about, because the Stop Fussing Day is every time you put down a mark, you have to leave it and then go back to your palette and get some more paint and then put down another mark. So it's going to be a blast, because it's a good thing on how to keep your painting fresh. It's a good way of keeping your painting fresh, is what I mean.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned. One of the biggest things, I feel like. Whereas you can get the right color and the right value, but if your application is not solid, sometimes it doesn't read as well. My struggle.
So many people struggle.
We have a response to Louis' question about what day are people most excited about. Gail is saying, no day's agenda looks uninteresting, but without looking at the calendar, working with models, the non-dominant hand day, primary palette day, and secondary palette day, edges, and mark making.
Nice.
Several good picks.
Mm-hmm. And Gail also had a question for Livia. She says, so Livia, did you come to East Oak Studios with strong preferences in substrates, paint, palette of colors, and other materials? How's that working out?
Well, I think one thing I like about East Oaks, I have had preferences or just things that I have kind of fallen into after doing it for so long. But I have tried Atelier training before. I didn't do painting, but I did drawing. And there was a strictness about the method and the materials that were used. And I think that's good. It's good for learning and being challenged and trying different techniques. But coming here, Louis is very flexible about meeting people where they're at. So I didn't have to totally overhaul my palette or my colors or any of that, which I like, because my method of mixing colors is kind of like how computers do it a bit, or printers. I don't have a lot of earth tones, or really any earth tones if you look at my palette, but I do all the hues. I like to try to get all the hues just in their pure form and mix them with black or white or any variation of gray. And that's just kind of how I understand color really well, and I haven't been forced to change that.
That was well said. You can make any color work, and part of your identity in your painting is the method that you choose to create anything that you can create, So, meaning that, well, if I need to explain it more, then meaning that it will always you will always be able to get to a destination, but it will have subtlety to it that identifies it as you. And so I don't care what are some of your tendencies, as long as you learn other tendencies that can help advocate the tendencies you already have or help support them in a way that makes a beautiful painting. And I think that's just a good lesson for most anyone when they're painting is there's no necessarily wrong way to paint, but there is definitely ways that combinations that can harmonize with a way you already paint. And so.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that the way I do it is not like infallible. For example, when I was working on a still life from life, Lewis mentioned, I think it was a still life, using transparent paints versus more opaque paints. And I have realized I don't know too much about that. And that is something to consider, maybe adding different paints to my palette, or even just trying it out if I don't keep it, because I mean, that's how you learn and grow, is trying new things and changing. And there is a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn.
I think that deserves an applause.
Yes.
Let's see if I could get this applause to work.
If only Livy could hear it too.
There we
you
go.
know.
I can imagine.
It's a pretty awesome applause.
Wow, it went on for longer than I thought
Yeah,
it was going
you can always
to.
stop it
Okay.
if it goes too long.
It was great. There was people cheering in the background. You can rewatch it later and listen to it.
Lewis has mentioned having a bunch of cool buttons and a scary monster voice.
Oh,
I don't know if he's used it. Have you used the
actually,
scary
we
monster
can
voice?
we can do the scary monster voice. Let me see.
How do we go? Oh, here?
Mhm.
Ready?
Okay.
Okay, everyone. This is
It's
my
only
scary.
on mine.
Oh, is it only on yours? I think you need to assign it to somebody else.
How do I do that?
Click mine. I think I'm on the black one, purple.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Do I click this?
I think so.
Now what?
You know what? I'll have to go into it and figure it out. So,
I
but
don't wanna
until
mess with
then,
this.
you can turn. There you go.
Well, I hope you guys
Well,
enjoyed that little.
we're gonna have so much fun with that in the future. So,
You can hear Tina's voice. And
So-
Lewis's scary monster voice is a thing to look forward to.
it's
Stay
more
tuned.
fun to hear Tina as a chickmunk than it is a monster.
Let me
So-
see if I could do that one. I hope everyone is enjoying this. Elijah says, very spooky. Let's see.
It's a good thing I can't hear it because I would just be terrified.
It's got I can do a great monster laugh on it.
Mwah.
Exactly.
Well, we have a comment from Emily, and I have the chipmunk voice on, so you guys can't hear it. But our friend Emily, she says, "Hi friends, joining in for just a bit before school pickup. I have to block off a day to actually be able to do a draw along with you guys. Maybe drapery, something I don't do often."
Hello, Emily.
Emily. Okay, so Emily has recently moved to the area. Her husband is in the military, and she came by East Oaks to say hi, and we had the most lovely time with her. She's also a very talented painter. You'll need to all look her up. You need to put her Instagram handle in there somewhere. But everybody should give her a round of applause for moving into the area. We always encourage our artist friends to move into the area and be a part of the community. So we consider her part of the family now.
Woo, go Emily.
I'll give her a little applause. There we go.
Nice. having a lot of fun with this little picture, creating some metal darkness. It's fun to have an area that might be like much higher contrast than the others. Most certainly might be fussing more than I should be, but I'm having too much fun, so I was like, I have to keep going.
You can't be stopped.
Can't be stopped.
I find every time I paint, I start a painting and it's not what I am wanting. And I panic, but then I just keep going and eventually it kind of works itself out.
Yep, that's the way it should work. It's awesome. That means you're a good problem solver is what that means.
I wish I could, was it you? Someone was talking about enjoying or like making each stage of the painting beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something I know how to do yet, but it's a thing that I think about and aspire to.
It is, that was something that was told to me by Jacob Collins when I was there, to like aspire to make every section of or every stage of the painting feel lovely and finished. And I think it is a great exercise to consider. But don't ever hold yourself to the stress that has to be perfectly true. Use it as a method to inspire to be better every time you make something, because otherwise we can just get stressed out all the time, not making everything perfect at every stage. Now, I don't think that was the heart he had behind it. At least that's not how I took it, but I think it's helpful.
Certainly, certainly. And sometimes it doesn't look good till the very end, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's all people see.
That's all people see anyways.
I know that I have had in the past struggles where I kind of just threw paint on it and none of it made sense. And I had the goal, I'll fix it eventually, but it was much harder to fix it if I didn't have a good start. So I've been trying to improve in that regard. Things to think about.
Yep. You know, one of my favorite things that the great John Singer Sargent would say is to try to hide the struggle. Meaning that for many of his stages, they didn't feel right, you know, and one of the skill sets is to know how to make it look effortless when you really toiled over it. So for those reasons, I think that every artist is different.
Beautiful.
Just for the chat, so people know, if we're missing your questions, feel free to just repeat them, because we do have a few that we may have missed just as the chat comes along. So feel free to just copy and paste it again. And we are doing this in a little bit different format from how we normally do painting from life. It's a little bit less instructional and mainly just us participating in the challenges. So there are some questions that we may not get to, but just feel free to paste them back in the chat again for it to be updated.
Yeah. It's like I'm happy to answer questions just for the fun of like creating conversation, but this is more about the reason that we are participating is more for you to feel at liberty to have someone doing the challenge along with you, so that you don't feel like, to encourage you to feel like you can do it and that you're not alone. So I'm here absolutely as an encourager. So if you have a struggle or a problem that you're working on, I'm here to encourage you through it. But want everyone to know that the goal and the heart behind all of us getting up here is more for the purpose of everyone to feel like they can do it because they see other people doing it.
Painting's looking good, Louie.
I'm having fun. Okay, I think I'll add this little bit of corn stalk in front here. Funny part of the corn stalk actually isn't much lighter in value, and you'd want to think it is, but just a little bit lighter in value than it gets brighter as it goes down. And then it creates a cast shadow, and that's why we can see it. It's hard to get around these little metal holders.
Olivia, how do you have your panel attached to that?
It's not duct tape, but it's the blue tape that's kind of papery, just like rolled up, slapped on there.
Nice. Like the painter's tape, like the regular
Yeah,
blue
yeah, that stuff.
Cool.
It's adhered via tape. Very temporary. I like it because otherwise it's just sitting right there and it's hard to get to the bottom of it.
All right, let's step back and look at the value relationships of everything. So I can bring the value relationships up on here. And so we're going to have several guest artists coming to participate with us, one of which is Carmen Gordon, who is a dear, dear friend of ours that lives about an hour away. She is so excited to participate. She's a fabulous painter. And so she will be joining us, as well as a dear friend of mine that lives here. He's been a mentor of mine in the past, named Gary Bradley. He's going to do Stool of Shame Day with us. So very excited about having him participate as one of our group members. You know, we consider all these people part of our East Oaks family, even though we don't get to see them that often, but whenever we do like dinner parties and stuff, I always invite them. Whenever we have artists and guests in town, I always invite them to participate, because for me, it's about making sure people have a community to participate in. So also, I don't know if Miss Chelsea Lang is listening, but I have been meaning to call her to see if she could participate too. So Chelsea, if you are listening, I want you to come participate with us one day. She always does painting from lives with us often. And she's a wonderful painter in the area that we love to do stuff with and collaborate with a lot. She has also a fabulous YouTube channel if you want to check hers out too later. Chelsea Lang. What's the name of her YouTube channel? Is it Chelsea?
I think it's Chelsea Lang. I think it's just Chelsea Lang.
Okay.
I'll check. I'll put a link in the chat. right, so we have a few comments. We have a comment from C. McQueen, and they're saying, ugly stage is normally when my partner enters the studio and says something like, interesting.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I guess you could do it that way.
And Gail also has a fun comment. She says, the good days are great, but the big smile on my face during a figure drawing session earlier this month seemed to freak out the model. Gonna try to remember that in the future.
Yeah. I bet, especially if it's like a figure model and you're like grinning, you know, be like, wait, what's wrong?
They start to panic. You can see in their eyes. They're still still.
That was a good one, Gail.
We also have a question from, I believe it's pronounced Emira. They're asking, are there any predetermined limited color palettes for still life, like Zorn palette for skin tones? I feel like you can also use the Zorn palette for still life or even a landscape. I feel like it's pretty diverse in how you can use that limited palette. But I guess the question more so is there any kind of limited palette that's usually used mainly for still lifes?
Great question. If there is, that's particularly advantageous for still life, I don't know what it is. But I would say that that you're correct, Tina, in that the Zorn palette, the design of the Zorn palette is not necessarily its versatility to paint whatever you want. It is its limitation to create a tonal harmony, which sounds like the same thing, but it's a little bit different. It's basically forcing you to be in a color range that is hard to mess up and creating harmonious colors between them. So, because if you start with too broad of a color range, sometimes it can be a challenge to, I call it riding the bull, where you're playing with such strong colors that you feel like it can buck you off at any moment as far as creating the painting to feel saccharine or cheesy or overly saturated or, you know, out of balance. You know, I always tell people, think about like if you hit a chord, 3 notes on a piano that's like a chord that you know, and it sounds really beautiful. But then you hit that chord, like a note right next to it, and it sounds off. That's what I'm talking about with color. It feels like it is. It feels like it's just slightly off, and it's easier to do that when you're working with a broader color range than a limited color range. I got rid of the candle just for a second to see if I wanted to place it somewhere else. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it like a darker color and have it like a little bit further over. It's just kind of competing a little bit with the stem. So I might just have him a little bit lower in height. And maybe have it where it was melted on the top at an angle down. You know, a little color, a little more value to it. Who knows, I might get rid of them altogether. Just have them a little bit in the background. Okay, now this is the fun part. I'm gonna put a little bit of a highlight in here on this. I say that, like everyone stops what they're doing to see what I'm about to do, and then I don't do it, you know? It's like, oh, here's the fun part. And everybody's like, oh, what's he going to do? And then I'm like, oh, I'll do it in 20 minutes. Because that's totally what's happening right now, because I see like a few form things I want to fix first.
I was totally waiting for you to do it.
Yep, see? Gotcha.
You tricked us.
The highlight's like the climax.
That's right, exactly. You gotta keep people
On the road.
wanting.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming. You guys just, it's coming.
Man, am I having fun. I hope everybody's having as much fun as I am. I know I keep saying that. I'm a verbal processor, if anyone hadn't noticed yet. And soften those edges back there. I know this is not a soft and hard edge day and doesn't really matter for a color study, but while I'm at it.
We also have a question from C. McQueen. They're asking, is there any merit/helpfulness in practicing value studies from grayscale photos, or is that kind of cheating?
Oh no, I absolutely think you should try from grayscale photos. The thing is that you're learning a couple of things. The things you should be considering when you're working on this is, number one, trying to create a hierarchy of what's the brightest thing in your painting, what's the next brightest thing in your painting, and going all the way down. And then yesterday was about deciding where the focal points of like what objects are important and making sure that you create them to be the focal point. So maybe you wanted it to be the darkest thing or the brightest thing, but one way or another, you've decided what that focal point's going to be. And then the next day is now that we have that decided, how do we organize our values in such a way that helps advocate for the brightest thing that is the focal point or the darkest thing to be in the focal point, and pushing towards that and organizing a hierarchy of light, middle, middle tones, and then dark. My photography teacher always would say that you want a tiny little bit of black, a tiny little bit of pure white, but the most is like different values of relationships of gray. And in this instance, that's exactly the same thing that we're working on. It's trying to create relationships of gray that make the thing feel real, because you've already decided what the focal point is, so that should be, no concern to you now. You should have a very good understanding of what's going on. So for that case, to go back to the photo idea, is find a photo that has a strong focal point that you can do. Don't just find any black and white, because that's not going to necessarily help you, because you're starting off in a bad place. But there's plenty of incredible black and white photos that do just that. And to use one of those as a value study form.
Great answer, Louis.
Thank you, Tuna.
I used to, when I was in high school, my main art thing was drawing portraits. And it was always interesting to draw the portrait from a color photograph with graphite and do my own interpretation of like the values, and then turn the photo into a black and white photo and see where I was correctly interpreting it or maybe not so correctly interpreting it, where maybe I thought a value was lighter than it actually was in comparison to other things. I think that is a fun thing to do.
It's great.
Color can be pretty deceiving when it comes to values. Like, I remember seeing on Instagram there was a John Singer Sargent painting that was turned into black and white, and the face looked so flat because it was all the same value but a different color. So when they put it back into color, you can see all the different variations and hue shifts, and it looks like a completely different painting. So that's always interesting to see. I gotta find that photo again.
It is interesting because sometimes you're just way wrong what you think you're seeing.
Yep.
We have a question from Jonathan, which is pretty interesting. Is it helpful to talk to yourself through the different stages of painting while painting? Does it help in remembering the process? I think it does for me a lot.
It makes me laugh because Tina and I have been working together on a new software system. And in order for me to like learn it while I'm doing it, I'm very much a verbal processor. So I'm like, okay, now I go here, and then I do this, and then I click that, and then I go to this, and I click, and it really helps me. But probably to the annoyance of Tina, but it at least gets, it absolutely kind of helps solidify it in my head. I feel like maybe I'm an audible learner.
Well, in that case, while you were talking out loud, it was second-handedly teaching me, so it worked.
Yeah, that's great.
So we should all talk while we're painting.
Yeah. I think that would be so funny. Just hear Erica from the next room
Yeah.
talking about her flags.
Every now and again, the girls will hear "stupid, stupid." That's me, and in the other room, talking to myself.
But most of the time, we just hear you sneeze.
Yeah. I have a very loud sneeze. I get it from my grandfather.
It's powerful. It could blow a house down, like with the big bad wolves.
I always used to like get scared of my grandfather's sneeze, and then later on you turn into him, which is really interesting.
My grandma also has an insanely loud sneeze, and we refer to it as like a gunshot. Like it's like a gunshot went off.
Yeah, it can be scary. It absolutely can be scary. I'm in here just darkening down some of these little notes on this pumpkin on the inside here. The thing I love about value studies is, number one, they're so small that it's easy to adapt and quickly change things. But also, you'll notice things quickly, because everything is so close to your focal point of your eyes that you kind of get the big picture easily with everything. And so then you're like, oh, well, I need to get that in over here, and that now can be darker because this is darker, and so that can show up better. And then you start getting a better understanding of what has a value relationship in one spot versus another.
I feel like painting is a lot like dancing. A push and a pull and a push and a pull, and maybe it's too light, and then you make it darker, and then maybe it's too dark, and you just bring it up a little.
Yep.
It's never right the first time, because that would be too easy.
Yeah, that'd be way too easy.
I'm always suspicious when I happen to get it right on the first try.
No,
I'm
you
like,
couldn't.
no,
Yeah.
this isn't right.
Or sometimes you get it right, but everything else is wrong, so it looks wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it is suspicious. Like, this shouldn't have been so easy.
Totally sus. This is me trying to be cool and hip. And everybody here is like, Lewis, that was so 2019.
I think it's still pretty current.
Okay,
Good.
good. Whew.
I think
I got my approval.
From the Gen Z.
Yeah, from the Gen Z group.
probably know more slang than I do.
Used to be, it was like, oh, those millennials, which I am the first generation of, and now it's like the millennials are like, oh, Gen Z.
It's gonna be our turn next, Tina.
I know.
I don't even know what's after us.
Gen Alpha.
Ew.
Yeah, see, that's that's where you know you become an older person. It's like even the like declaration of who they are is like, ugh.
Why do they have to be so proud about it?
Yeah, you're right.
You think you are. I'm just kidding.
We love you, Gen Alpha.
Yeah,
if
we
you're
love
old
you,
enough
Gen
to
Alphas.
watch this.
We do.
Yes, follow us.
This is my loving.
Love me.
This is my loving teasing. That just really means you're truly part of the fam.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I was like, oh, we'll probably only do 2 hours or this and the other, but I'm having so much fun. I'm like, oh, I'll just keep going.
It is 3:47, so we have like an hour and 15-ish minutes.
Yeah, so we can keep going for forever, actually.
Perfect.
See, now that we're doing it, I'm not even scared.
See?
Kind of. I'm a little bit scared.
No, don't be scared. Face those fears, face them.
Maybe I'll go get a different paintbrush. Could I do that?
Yeah, of course.
There are no rules.
There are
Yeah.
no rules. I'll be right back.
But put your mic on mute just so people don't hear
steps.
your steps and stuff like that.
If I start talking to myself.
Yeah. Or, heaven forbid, you decide you need to go to the bathroom or something.
Did you ever end up putting the mark on the creamer?
No, I was waiting until I got another chance to be like, okay, I'm going to do it again, people. But yes, I'm about to. I just want to get these little values right. That's kind of like the climax of the painting. So, you know, you don't want to like do it too early, then everybody like leave, you know, the YouTube channel.
I'm back.
That was fast.
I knew exactly what I wanted.
This is where you make your own decisions too. Like I said earlier, is that this candle back here, I'm making just much darker than it is in person to set it back there pretty far back into the painting so that the pumpkin stays really forward and doesn't compete too heavily with it. And you never know, I might get rid of it completely. It might be more of a distraction than I want.
We have a question from Benjamin Lester, who I remember who this is because he always has the best jokes. But he has a comment. What colors do you dislike painting with? Mine is tropical beach colors. Like your Hawaii vacation references are making me rethink my commission policy.
That seems like nail polish names because they always have the funnest names. I don't really think of oil paints of having fun names like that.
Yeah, tropical beach colors. But I can visualize it. Like I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So the question was, what colors do we not like to paint with? I will say for the longest time I had an aversion. I would put it on my palette all the time, but I had an aversion to painting with cobalt blue because I was like a huge French or ultramarine guy. But then I started experimenting with it because I faced my fears. And because of that, it's now one of my favorite colors I paint with. But let's see if there's a paint color. I'm like, you know what? I probably would never paint with that color. You know, I will say I'm not a big fan because of just the overpowering nature of it. Like, there's very particular reasons to use it, but some of the phthalo colors are just so intense that I find myself, you know, they're kind of bullies when it comes to tinting strength. And so I tend to steer away from them a little bit, but they have a vibrancy that if you were to paint, like, say, that Hawaiian tropical scene, that if you had like a phthalo green and a phthalo blue, you could make some really wild water colors. But for the most part, I find myself being okay with almost any color. I say that because I don't know if I've just experimented with enough colors.
If we're talking about like tubes of paint, I usually stay away from the earth tones because I kind of feel like if I wanted that color, I could mix it with the colors I already have on my palette. But as a color in general, I don't like green that much.
Me too.
Especially for landscape paintings. I feel like it's so easy for it to take over too much or look unnatural.
Yeah, green can
It's
be
a hard
really
thing
hard.
to balance.
Green can be very hard.
But to all the green lovers of the world, this is my mom. It's a beautiful color and I can respect it. It's just not for me.
I enjoy green, like it's one of my favorite colors, but I don't like necessarily painting with it. Like I almost never put it on my palette. I have a place for it on my palette, but I never put it out.
I used to use Viridian, and then I realized I don't like Viridian, but I still needed a green, so I ended up making my own green with, I used King's Blue Deep from Michael Harding and Yellow Ochre. Mixed together makes a really nice mid-range, kind of neutral green that is really nice that I've been liking.
Nice.
But I'm not a big green fan, but that green I like.
You found one that works?
And we have a question. They're asking, I wasn't here at the very beginning of today's session, but it looks like you created a gray value scale on your palette, and we are doing value studies today. So for everyone's palette, they have like a general scale, just depending on how they like to organize their palette. But yes, today is value study day.
Yes, come join. Jump on in, the water's fine.
It's beautiful. We're having fun.
Yes. This is what this is all about. Give us an excuse to have fun. You know, sometimes we get caught up, as professionals, we get caught up with all the things we have to do in the world of painting. And especially for me, like I'm a commissioned painter and I have all these commissions I have to get done. And what I have found is that if you don't spend some time experimenting, exploring, doing interesting things with friends, going out and painting together, you know, having a model come in, painting here, you can lose your joy of why you did it in the first place. And so what this is about is to help you rediscover your joys of what was interesting about painting in the first place. Because I often think that people paint because it's an exploration and discovery. And people lose sight of that when they start like finding a rhythm of what they paint and how they paint. And then they like start making it into a business or start adding extra things to it. And then it's easy to like get lost in direction of why you enjoy doing it in the first place. So I might not teach today, but boy, I can get on a soapbox. So be careful.
We love the soapbox.
Good.
Wisdom. Share it with us.
It's in the beard.
It's in the beard.
It's in the beard.
See, this is why I wish I could grow a beard.
So my older brother and I, he razzes with me a bit on the fact that I have a lot of gray in my beard. And my older brother, who's 2 years older than I am, doesn't have a single gray hair on his head. He takes after my dad, who doesn't have a single gray on his head, and he is 70. And so, so he always kind of like plays with me. But I always bring up the point that in the Bible, there's a quoted scripture that says that the gray in your hair is a crown of wisdom. And I always bring it to him. It's like, well, there's just wisdom in this beard. So
You can never be Gandalf.
that's right, exactly. Now I have thought about going Gandalf style, and my wife is like, you know, you might not ever get kissed again. So I have decided not to do.
42 is a little
that.
too young for that.
Yeah, exactly. I've got time. I've got time to go that route. I've got time to be Santa.
Another 30 years,
Yeah.
there'll be no stopping you.
Exactly. All right, I'll do the highlight. Dun, 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 dun.
Everyone's holding their breath.
Don't mess it up.
Something I always consider as well when you're doing like highlights or something like that is that even in your highlights, you should have a hierarchy. One highlight that's more important than the others.
Because it is so easy to run away with your highlights and then they lose all their impacts because you
Yep.
turn them all up to 100%.
Yep.
I love that. Run away with your highlights. That's cute.
I was so foolish and young.
Look at those highlights. Louis, do you think you could zoom in a little bit?
Oh, let's see. I think I can. Oh, I can get it a little lighter. And then let's do a little bit of a zoom in here. I have to
we
refocus
go.
this. Wow, this painting looks so big on the screen. I wonder how big my hands look. Whoa.
The truth comes out. He's a giant.
Look at that highlight, everyone.
Dun, dun, dun.
I feel like we need an applause.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chef's
You gotta
kiss.
rewatch that. It's great.
If something is never like making sense in your painting, always think about like, well, why? And usually it's a value thing. So this is why this is so good that we're doing this. So like, for example, I'm looking at some of these marks I've made here, and I can't see this really pretty piece of stalk, leaf, or husk of the corn. And so I needed to make the pumpkin darker. And so I've got to go in and like do the pumpkin a little bit darker before I put that husk back in to make sure that there's a good range happening.
Whenever I have an issue with my painting and I can't figure it out why, I'm always, first instinct is to check the values, because most of the time that's what's giving me an issue.
Yep. So easy to take for granted. And most value studies don't have to be this detailed. I'm just doing it because I'm having fun. But in fact, I would tell people not to get this detailed with their value studies sometimes, because it can distract you from the whole idea of the hierarchy of the importance of like why you're doing it in the first place, which is to find the hierarchy relationship between your colors so that when you do the painting, you can really see the difference between them. But I'm having too much fun.
It is too much fun.
And you know, the other thing is like for the past like 2 weeks, I've been working on trying to get ready for this thing, as far as like getting all the equipment ready, the cameras ready. So it's like my first time to paint in a while, and I'm like, this is so much fun. I'm not gonna stop.
And the audience is so cool and has such nice comments and questions.
Mm-hmm. It's like, why would I?
It's going to be like a 24-hour live stream. East Coast.
Yeah. We're just going to keep going. Tina said she'd be here for all of it. Switchering in the background.
We're begging Lewis to step away from the palette,
Yeah.
but like we can't get him to. He's starving and having a breakdown, but he won't leave.
He won't
That's
stop.
funny. Won't stop.
It's going to happen one of these days.
To call the police for a well check.
Get Parisa down here, Lewis's wife.
Yep.
She'll deal with it.
He's
Yeah.
begging.
She'll lay down the law. Best thing to do is just bring my dog Rosie in, and I'll be like, oh, that'd be like the more fun thing to do is play with my dog Rosie.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, she was so sweet. She was trying so hard to hang out with us down here while we're setting up for today, and we have just tons of wires and cameras everywhere. And she was being so cautious, stepping over all the wires so she didn't trip on anything. It was very sweet.
Hmm.
We'll have to have a day that's all about Rosie on our live streams.
She
Paint
could
your doggy day.
pose for us.
Yep.
What about people with cats?
Oh, well, then they're welcome too.
Get Zelda in here.
Yeah, get my cat in here. She would be a horrible model. She'd be very excited, but she would not sit still. I actually do have a whole Pinterest board saved of ideas for a painting of me and my cat. So it's going to happen one day.
Can't wait to see that.
I want to see that.
So what I'm noticing is I still need to create a little bit more of a hierarchy on this side of this pumpkin.
And what makes you say that?
Because in order for it to feel round, there needs to be the right amount of compression range that is bright on one side and a little darker as they turn. And it's hard for our eyes to sometimes see it. So, I'm trying to make sure that I'm making that impact happen on the top part of the pumpkin as well as it turns away from the light.
We We also have a question from MM Borg. They're asking, or they're saying, I'm also interested in learning how to match a color value against the grayscale on the value scale. Is there an easy way to do that? For example, what value on the grayscale is the CAD red medium? Something that I saw not too long ago on Instagram, if you have one of those physical card copies of the value scale and you have your tube of paint, if you take a swatch of it and just try matching it to the value, whichever part of the value scale the color kind of disappears into is most likely going to be what value that is. So you can actually take that physical value scale and physically put the paint onto it as a swatch, and you'll see if it slightly disappears, like the edges, then that's what the value relationship of that color would be. So I think that's a good way to do a study of that. But if anyone else has any other techniques or methods for matching color to value, would be appreciated.
I feel like the really saturated colors are always darker in value than I think they're going to be.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Most of the time they exist in the value 5-6 range. If you had a value 10 scale of values, that's typically where they reside, unless it's yellow. The most highly saturated colors of yellow tend to be in the value 7-8 range, and sometimes 9. I mean, lemon yellow can almost be a 9.
I hate that about yellow.
Emily is asking, Louie, did your thumbnail sketches from yesterday help you decide your composition for today? And she also says, sorry if you already said, I wasn't here right at the beginning.
Yeah, they actually did. I didn't move anything, in fact. I kept it the way it was yesterday at the end. So I could have done, there's several that I liked that I did earlier, but I think it was good for me to say that this would suffice because I felt like it had kind of the elements that you need for your painting to feel dynamic. So yeah, good question.
I was so very fortunate that Tina did all the work for me. She did such a good job. She's a master at that.
Thank you. I just really like that little teapot that we said yesterday Louie made. I was like, I have to put this in there. I feel like it's only right.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's nice.
I've been so focused on here, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that that's in there. It's awesome.
We have a question from Gail. Would you ever use a red lens filter to check your work or before you even started? Or is that only for landscape painters?
No, I mean, I would. I don't have one, so I don't. But I use, I mean, there's lots of things you can use, but that is absolutely a viable method. You can also use a dark mirror, which is usually kind of black glass. That usually works decently well too. But all of that to be said, and as far as the dark mirror is concerned, you can do what Erica did. That was a genius move. I don't know where she got the idea, but I love it. Is you can go buy a piece of welding glass, which goes in the viewfinder of a welder's mask, and they make them separate. And so you can buy one of those, and you have like a huge piece of black glass that's relatively cheap that you can get for like $8 or something. So that's a good, fun pro tip that she did recently, and I was like, oh, I'm so impressed. What a great idea.
I'm sure she'll have it tomorrow because she's doing the grisaille painting tomorrow. So I'm sure she'll be using it for checking her values and things like that. Another thing that Erica taught me before she had the welding class is you can use your phone. Just make sure your screen is off.
Yep.
And as I'm saying that, Emily is also commenting an iPhone when it's turned off works the same as a black mirror. Yes, it works really great.
And it's the cheapest because you probably already have it, but the most expensive if you don't. So
Get an iPhone not for the purposes of having a phone, just as a black mirror.
just tell your spouse, babe, I got it because I really needed it for work.
Louis recommended
Just don't
it to
say,
me.
just don't say what you need it for work, and you're golden, you know. But I don't discriminate. Samsung phone will work just fine. Any Android phone will probably work just fine.
We are iPhone people here, though, at East Oaks. I think we all have iPhones, right?
I'm pretty sure we're close to all iPhone people.
Just for laughs, I'm going to play a little soundtrack for you guys. It's the crickets.
Oh, nice.
You know, I feel like you would be good at ASMR. Or just being a radio host in general.
Maybe I should switch career paths.
There you go.
No!
If painting doesn't work out.
Just do it on the side. Like,
Alright.
I feel like you would be good on NPR.
This is fresh air.
Thank you, Livia. I'll give it a try. I need someone to tell a bad joke so I can use the badumts. So, who's up for it?
I feel
Yeah.
like Louis has the dad jokes.
You know, you would think, but they kind of come to me. A dad joke is never just like in your pocket. It usually comes in a situation where there's a punny thing to say and it just doesn't land well.
This genius doesn't come on command.
This dad joke genius. It's funny as I keep compressing this part down here, it's amazing how dark I can keep making the lower part of this pumpkin. You can keep going and going and going and still reads as being bright, which is great because I like pushing ranges.
We have a lovely joke from Benjamin. You hear about the artist that told too many dad jokes? He was told to Van Gogh.
Yeah,
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you, Benjamin.
that's it.
I'd come to your show.
And back to the whole NPR radio thing. Emily's asking, Tina, what would your DJ name be? And I think I would be DJ Tiny Tina Tuna because that's my Xbox gamer tag name that I made up in 2nd grade from a pirate project. And that's why Louis calls me Tuna because Tiny Tina Tuna. So I would be DJ Tiny Tina Tuna.
And she would be awesome.
She would quickly
It would-
rise to the top.
It would end up being DJ Tuna.
Yeah.
DJ Tuna in the house. Let's play the Macklemore song. Boom, 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 boom.
Macklemore's from Seattle,
Yes.
so he's one of mine. I
Nice.
claim him as my own.
Priest and I actually walked out to our wedding reception to that song.
Thrift shop?
Uh-huh. because it was big right when we got married, and we thought it would be funny. So dates us a little bit, but that's where we are.
I think it's a classic song.
I
don't
think so
it's-
too.
Yeah. You know, I did after I told Benjamin's joke, I did the sound effect, and he's asking, where's my sound effects? And I'm concerned that they're not hearing the sound effects.
Oh.
I'm going to do the rim shot right now, and let me know if you can hear it. I can hear it.
You might need to bring the volume up on it.
Which one is it?
Far right on the screen.
This thing?
On the screen.
Oh, this thing? No,
Yep.
this thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do
Yeah,
I
that
do
was it. Nope, bottom. Click where it.
this?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, let me know.
See if that
Okay,
works.
he heard that one. Great.
Hey,
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, we have another joke from Jonathan. Why do pirates never take showers before they walk the plank? Because they eventually wash up on shore.
That's great.
Funny.
Oh, yeah. You can give a trombone on that one too.
Like the sad trombone?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That one was a little late. I couldn't press the button in time.
Sad for the pirates.
Pirates continue to come up in our live streams. It's either Pirates of the Caribbean or pirate jokes.
I'm cool with that.
I can already tell that your pumpkin, Louis, is looking more rounded by your changes in value.
Awesome, because that is the goal. Making sure that all these guys are saying the same thing about the still life. And that is, where is the light? Where's it coming from?
Where is the light? Oh, it's right there.
I want to be in the light.
I can see it now.
That always reminds me of It's a Bug's Life, where that moment where he's like, Johnny, stay away from the light. And he's like, I can't help it. It's so beautiful. And it's one of those bug zappers.
Oh no.
And so all of a sudden you hear, bzz, ah.
So sad. That was the end.
That was the end. Well, it was the end for that day for him. We won't say, nobody dies in those movies. We won't say that he died. He's just taking a good rest.
It's what we like to tell ourselves.
Exactly.
Olivia, that teapot is looking gorgeous.
Thank you. I am just working it. I am fussing to the max.
Yeah. Well, today's not Don't Fuss Day, so you're okay.
I didn't volunteer for that day for a reason.
Who, I think Livia, or no, not Evie's doing that day, if I'm correct. I might be wrong.
That's one of the ones I think I'm most excited about, because I think people are going to realize how fresh of a painting they can make if they really pay attention to, focus on that being the only variable that they have to pay attention to. Right now I'm pushing and pulling this part of the pumpkin to not only help create some more dimension, but to turn the bottom part of the pumpkin down.
And just a reminder for everyone, for tomorrow, we're doing Grisaille Day. So we have the materials list and everything on the East Oaks calendar. So if you go into the description, you can see the calendar and you just click on for day 3. It's going to be Grisaille. And you can work on, we're going to do a little bit larger scale. So I think either an 8x10 or a 9x12. And you're going to need, so black and white paint and then anything to slightly change the temperature of the paint. So we have recommendations on the materials list. I think one of the recommendations is like transparent oxide red and ultramarine blue. So as long as you have those paints, you can be set for tomorrow. And as always, you can always use whatever works for you and whatever you have.
Well said, Tina. Well, I'm getting to the place where I can definitely tell her I'm fussing, so that means that we're almost done.
Reaching the end.
Yeah, it is 4:22, so we've been going for almost 2.5 hours.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to fix a few of these things and then we'll be done. But only done for today. We're wanting to make sure we save some stamina for tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So this is, like I said yesterday, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon of fun things to do. And so make sure that you don't burn yourself out. Just try to do it for an hour. You can even do one of these studies. You can do even for like 15 minutes if you want, just to kind of get the idea of the hierarchy down. So let's see if I can make a few more fun marks on the top here.
And you could also share your photos, both of your still life setup and of your value study on our Discord group. You can also post it on Instagram if you want to tag us. And I think maybe we'll try and share if people are tagging us. I think that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, it would be really cool to see.
Louis, did you switch to more of like a natural hairbrush when you're doing that?
Yep.
Okay.
I did because I wanted to release more paint. And also I wanted to create it to have softer edges in that certain spot. The whole part right here is a little too bright, so I'm kind of like going over it with a hard brush, and we'll go over this on hard and soft day, but with a harder brush you can soften edges better, and so with wet paint you can blend better. And so there's a little bit of just blending and making sure everything makes sense before I left it completely, because it's I was trying to brighten up a spot on it, and then because you do that, then you'll get some form issues. So I was just saying, not that I should be even worried about form issues and this kind of thing. What? So, oh, I wanted to do that little corn bit. All right, I'm gonna do the little corn thing and then we're done. Okay, sorry. Sorry, everybody, sorry. All right, we're gonna just make a little doesn't have to be perfect because it's an organic.
I'm just hypnotized trying to watch you make this corn husk. It's like so hypnotizing. Is this how people feel watching like sports and stuff?
Yes. Making me blush, Tuna. All right, let's just see if there's any value relationships that don't make sense to me. I mean, for the most part, gosh, this thing keeps tilting. Hold on, everybody. I'm going to get y'all a non-tilting image here, if I can. All right, let's just see if there's anything else that's bothering me. I mean, as far as a value study is concerned, that's about as, far more involved than you have to be. But it'll give you everybody, I'm going to pull this in front so that everyone can see it better. There we go. Trying to give it an extra tilt on the other way so that it'll hopefully just end up balancing itself. Okay. Well, all right, everyone. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this time. We're so excited about continuing to do these things. Feel free to post on Instagram what you're doing and your progress and tagging us in it. Also, put your progress shots. If you want to just be a part of our community, click on the Discord link and join our community. And we're so happy and thrilled to be able to do this with y'all. I'm so thankful for Olivia for joining us today. It was such a blast having her here as well. And keep joining us. Be a part of our East Oaks family. We would love to have you. Y'all have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow is what?
Grisaille Day.
Tomorrow is Grisaille Day. It's not just Grisaille Day, like this would be considered kind of a Grisaille. It's how to push warm and cool in your Grisaille Day. So go to the supply list, look at what they have. I'm going to be using transparent oxide red and ultramarine blue. Also may even try, for the fun of it, oxide yellow and manganese violet. But don't buy those colors if you don't have them. Try to use what you have in your arsenal of colors already. Find two complementary colors that make a gray tone. It can be orange and blue. It can be green and red. And try to see if they make a neutral gray. And if they do, then try to use them for tomorrow. They don't have to be the same colors. So experiment, have fun, and have the liberty to fail. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.